Hi and welcome, and thank you so much for being here. And Beis Hashem, here we are, Parshas Chaye Sara, talking about Sara Imenu, Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach. So, this week's Parsha, Rabasha asks the question. We're taught, it says, Yafa Sichosan Shel Avdei Avos, that the Chazal tell us that the importance given to the conversations of Eliezer Eved Avram take more space than conversations of that we don't hear many details about conversations that Avram Avinu had with Sarah Menu, or that Moshe Benu had with different people, but the conversation that Eliezer ben that the Eved of Avram, the servant of Avram, had with Besuel and Lavan about the Shidduch, about Rivka, this is brought in great detail in the Parsha. And so what was so wonderful about the conversation of the servants of the Avos, asks Rav Asher. What was so yafa about this conversation, that it is recorded for all time in the Torah in great detail? Meaning certain conversations are recorded in the Midrash, or they're recorded in you have to go to all different kinds of other places to get these. But in the Torah itself, it's repeated word for word, this entire conversation of Eliezer coming, of greeting Rivka, and then she went back and told her father, and then and Lavan, and Eliezer came, and there was this whole conversation. So this long conversation, the Torah found appropriate to copy the entire conversation instead of using just a few words. And even in the most fundamental mitzvahs we learn from the Torah, often in very terse language, often just a word or a vowel sound in a word will give us mountains of halacha. And yet here we have an entire conversation. So the Torah is certainly teaching us something about speech, about this in this conversation. Many different people have explained this question in different ways. And we could add that sometimes, so one of the things that we can learn that is sometimes it's going to be appropriate to speak and engage in conversation more than we might expect. That's the first takeaway that Rabasha wants us to understand. Usually we are taught not to engage in idle chatter. It's certainly one of the comments that Chazal teach us. One of the midos is to not speak too much. But Rabasha is telling us here that in certain times it is worth having and engaging in much deeper and lengthy conversations, more than we would normally expect. So he says, imagine such a thing. Here we are in Eretz Haran, the land where everybody is idol worshippers over there. The entire land was filled with idol worshippers. The father is Betuel, and his wife and the son Lavan, and they're all idol worshippers. And they're all going after their fathers and their fathers before them, generations of idol worshippers. And they are money grabbing and liars and thieves. And into such a family, Rivka Imenu is born. It's easy to imagine the kind of chinuch for idol worship that Rivka received in the home of her parents. And certainly she probably tried to be a good girl. And certainly, at least outwardly, she didn't want to rock the boat or make trouble. But actually, Rev. Victor Miller says something fascinating in his commentary on Chumash. He says that Rivka had heard rumors about a wondrous man, a godly man, spiritual man, a man who was teaching the world about Chesed, a person who was teaching the world about Hashem. And rumors were going around the different lands about different kinds of people, and wondrous stories and miracle stories had reached this young girl's ears that were being told about this person, Abraham, or Avram, as he was called at that time. He wasn't yet Avraham. Maybe his name was whatever. She'd heard the stories that were being told about this person, and she desired strongly to somehow be connected to this family, says Ravigda Miller. And Ravigda Miller says that because of her strong desire, because as soon as she heard about the deeds and the stories and the Kiddush Hashem that this Avram was doing, because she wanted to somehow be connected. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu then was Megalga, HaKadosh Baruch Hu then organized it in such a way that she would be thought about, and she would be the one that they would go to bring a chassan for Yitzchak, the son of Avram Avinu. So Rav Avigdor Miller ascribes her choice as the first chosen Imah, meaning when Avram and Sara married, they hadn't yet received the promise of being a family of a nation. They hadn't received that promise yet. So Rivka was the first who was chosen. It was with cognizance that she was going to be the mother of a nation of Klal Yisrael. And Ravigdor Miller says it was because she wanted that, because it was something that she deeply desired. She wanted to be a part of that. And so Kodesh Baruch Hu gave her that and was Mesoivev. Her desire brought about the result that Eliezer, the son of the Eved of Avram, came and chose Rivka. But so here, Rav Asher is saying, so here she was, a young wondrous child, born into this family of idol worshippers. And here along comes Eliezer. Okay, he's a shadchan. He's sent off to go and make a shidduch for Avram, who lives in a faraway land in Eretz Canaan. And Eliezer right away reveals that this Rivka has a extremely lofty neshama. He sees in the chesed that she's doing. Again, her chesed was inspired by Avram Avinu. She heard the stories of Avram and his chesed, and it inspired her. And so in her own way, she developed the midah of chesed. She chose midas chesed, and that enabled her to be chosen. And so Eliezer witnessed she had exceptionally fine traits and grace. Great to see you coming on. 1 second, let me just change my view here. So I love seeing faces. 1 second. There we go. Okay, I can see everybody is on. That she was a beautiful wildflower that was growing in a field of thorns. He understood that this young girl had a mighty spirit, and that the thorns all around her had no power and held no sway over this young girl. She was like a rare gem that was fitting to be placed into the crown of the generations that would be the avos of the nations. And so, as far as Avram Avinu was concerned, everything was fine. And also from Eliezer's perspective, as the shadchan, everything also seemed fine. He found the girl that he was looking for. Avram Avinu had sent off Eliezer with certainty that he was going to come back with the right shidduch. But what about the other side? What about the idol worshipping parents on the other side? How were they going to exactly respond to this shidduch suggestion? Remember, Rivka was exceptionally successful, fine, young girl. She was very, very young. And who do they want to marry her off to? A 40-year-old bocha. So how are they exactly going to, respond to such a suggestion? If they were just going to look at what was going on here, you've got this old man, you want to give it to Rivka, to this old man, they're certainly not going to be delighted to send her off. Okay, that's not what they were going to be looking to do. And so here we have Eliezer. He might have a shadchan, someone who's coming to make a shidduch, has to look and think, what's the other side going to think? How can I best present it? And Rabasha says, really, according to how things looked on paper, he should have just given up from the beginning. How is he going to present such a kind of off-the-wall kind of suggestion? He would have just, given up and think that it was just too hard. But Eliezer was sure in the power of the tzaddik Avram Avinu. In the schus of Avram, he understood he's going to be successful in this mission. And he also had bitachon in the short prayer that he had said. He said, Hashem, please help me and help me to find the girl who's going to do chesed, and I will know that it's the one. And he was sure. He had a certainty and a confidence that his tefillah was going to be answered. One of the problems that we have today, the Holy Yenuka said, is that we don't believe in our prayers. We don't believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is listening. We don't believe that Hashem wants to hear our prayers. We think that, what, a person like me, I made so many mistakes. I even if I try, but I keep on falling, and I don't know how to daven, and I don't have the right kavanas. And certainly Hashem listens to big tzaddikim, but somebody like me, why would Hashem even listen to me? He said, on the contrary, we have to know that every word that we say, Hashem is listening to us, just like Hashem, just like a parent, a caring and attuned parent listens to a small child who's asking for a piece of paper to color on, or his foot hurts him in his shoe, and the parent bends down to take care of what needs do you have, mein kind? What's bothering you? How can I help you? That's how Kadosh Baruch Hu is listening to every word that we say. And he said, in our own simple language, the way that we speak, we have to just open up our mouths and have a conversation with the Kadosh Baruch Hu and tell him what's going on in our hearts, what's going on in our lives. It's hard for me, Ribono Shel Olam. It's hurting me. I've got so much sorrow from this. I know it comes from you, and I know that you're helping me, and I know that you're doing everything out of your love for me. And it's hard. Great to see you. Thank you. And it's so hard and it's so painful for me. And I really need your help, Ribono Shel Olam, and save me and help me see your love for me and guide me and support me and give me strength and give me the guidance to understand what to say and be with me as I go and take care of this and help my child with that and help my family with this and support me generously and give me what I need for Shabbos, whatever it is that we need to ask. Open up our mouths, just as Eliezer Eved Avram had confidence that he could ask the Kadosh Baruch Hu, guide me to the right shidduch and let me see. And he could even say a sign. I want to see that when she does chesed, I will know that it's the right person for Yitzchak to be in the home of Avram Avinu. So we also need to have this kind of confidence in our tefillah as well. Certainly listens to every word that we say. Kadosh Baruch Hu is listening. And so one part of the conversation that we need to take away from Parshas Chaye Sara is our conversation with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. That the place to expand in our conversations is certainly in our tefillahs with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. However it comes out, the way that we want to express ourselves to Hashem, whether it's in pain and gratitude and in questions, we can put our questions to Hashem. Hashem, I don't understand this. Please help me understand. Of course, we can ask Hashem. Who else are we going to ask for understanding, if not to ask the Kadosh Baruch Hu?
Amen.
Thank you. If we want understanding, a certain HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the person to turn to. So Eliezer, the servant of of Avram Avinu understood now was not the time to give up. Now was not the time to be tired or say, okay, I lift up my hands, I can't do this. But now is the time to strengthen himself in the art of conversation and to speak and to continue speaking and not to give up speaking until he would actually achieve his goal. There's a beautiful story, many of you may have heard this story, from Rav Noach Weinberg Zatzal. He said one time he was speaking to a man who owned a kosher Jewish retirement home. And one of the women who were there, an old Jewish lady, she didn't like the kosher food. She wanted some non-kosher food. And she started complaining, and she was going to complain to the authorities that she didn't like the food and that they weren't letting her have non-kosher food. And the owner of the home was very scared that these complaints could shut him down, and he wanted to continue being a kosher establishment. And he said he went to this woman, and Baruch Hashem, he was successful, and she decided she wanted to keep kosher. So afterwards, they asked the owner of the home, "What did you do? How did you do it?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I knew I had to keep this home open. I knew I had to convince her to keep kosher. And so I just went in knowing I have to succeed. I have to make this happen." And Baruch Hashem, she decided she wanted to keep kosher after a conversation with him. Basically, if we go in to the conversation with a steadfast trust in a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and I don't mean to go out now and start, talking to the world and trying to make everybody be Shomer Shabbos or whatever it is. But again, that wasn't what Eliezer Eved Avram did. Eliezer, in the home of Avram, certainly witnessed probably the greatest Kiruv Rechakim movement that existed. Certainly, at least the forerunner of Rav Noach Weinberg Zatzal. And every Kiruv organization takes their lead from Avram Avinu and how he worked and how he cared about every single person. But in this instance, Eliezer understood, I have to keep going. I have to make sure that this goes through. He trusted that it was going to work. He trusted that she was the person. And he understood that they were going to have a hard time, but that eventually they were going to come around because there was no other choice, meaning Rivka was the Kala. He was here. He was trusting Shem to put the words in his mouth. He was just going to open his mouth and talk and talk and talk and keep on going until the goal was reached. And here the Torah teaches us, when you have Kavod Shema Yisbarach, when our goal is the honor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we need to speak and speak without stop, and with Siyata D'Shmaya, we will be successful. Whatever it is that we want to achieve, L'man Hashem, with Hashem's honor at stake, keep talking, keep going. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to get involved and help us. And we as women have to understand, the Gemara says, Chazal teach us that 10 measures of speech came down into the world, and women received 9 of them. And there's often a little bit of, joking that goes on about women and conversation. But honestly, it's for sorry about that. Kind of got knocked off for a minute. So just a second. Sorry about that. I just got knocked off for a minute there. So we as women, sometimes jokes are made about women talking, but the truth is, there needs to be a very important part of our nation that understands how to make connections. Eliezer, the servant of Avram, understood was that through his conversation, through his talking, through his giving of himself in conversation, he will form a connection with even Basuel and Lavan. We talk about idol worshippers and tricksters. Okay, they could make some kind of connection so that even they, at the end of the conversation, they said, "Meis Hashem Haisus," as this comes from Hashem. The emunah and the bitachon of Eliezer was able to be transmitted to these idol worshippers with the focus on this outcome, for the sake of this to come about. And so it's only through the conversation that they had, through giving himself over to conversation with them, he was able to influence them enough that the shidduch could take place. If we can understand the power of conversation, the power of the connection that we can have with schmoozing, with talking, with just gentle conversation, with showing interest in a person, with asking about themselves. In the famous book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, this book, Rav Elia Lopian, famous mashgiach of Gateshead Yeshiva, he said that book was a Musa book. It's a book of how to approach human relationships, except that it wasn't written lishma. It wasn't written in order to develop the midos of a Kadosh Baruch and become close to Hashem. It was developed in order to be successful. That's how to win friends and how to be successful, how to influence more people so that you can get more money, more influence, more power. So it wasn't written the shame Shemayim. It was written the shame, one's own personal success. But the actual recommendations in the book, said Rav Elia Lopian, it could be a Musa Sefer. And what are the recommendations in the book? Talk in terms of the other person's interests. Find out about the person you want to influence. Listen to them. Ask them about what they're doing. Ask them about their interests. If you want to befriend a person, if you want to be able to influence somebody, you have to talk in terms of their interest. And there's a beautiful illustration of this story. Rav, the Rosh Hashiva of Chaya, Rav Shlomo Freifeld. Once a bacher who had not been successful in different yeshivas, and he didn't really know anything. He hardly learned anything. He didn't know much, and he'd spent a lot of time. I think it's Montana, out in the country, and he would hunt rabbits and different kinds of animals, and from there he ended up coming to yeshiva, to Shah Yashiv, to Shlomo Freifeld. And Shlomo, when he first came in, he spoke to this Talmud and he asked him, "Wow, what do you do in Montana? What's over there?" And he told him that he hunts animals. "Wow," said Shlomo. He asked him all kinds of questions about it. And each day, Rav Shlomo Freifeld would call in this Talmud in order to draw him closer, would have conversations with him and ask him more questions about the wildlife in Montana and how do you trap an animal. And he would explain to him, you see the tracks and you listen very carefully. And Rav Shlomo showed great interest. One day, Rav Shlomo was in the office talking to this Talmud, and he got called out on some urgent matter. And when his Rebbe went out, this Talmud decided he would have a little look around the office. And he looked behind the desk and he saw, tucked away under the desk, a library book all about how to trap wild animals. And he understood that his Rebbe had cared for him so much that he had gone to the library and had looked for a book about what this had been the life of this Talmud. Certainly, Rav Shlomo Freifeld didn't have any interest in going out and trapping rabbits. He wasn't going to be making rabbit fur hats. Okay, that wasn't what he was going to be doing. But in order to draw this person close, he went and started to read up and found out all about the interests of his dear, precious Talmud, so that he could converse with him and talk to him and be interested in what he was interested in, because truly he wasn't interested in the trapping of animals, but he was interested in his beloved Talmud. If we want to be a friend and we want to influence people to Yiddishkeit, influence people to Torah, influence people in emuna and the ways of HaKadosh Baruch and draw people close. We've been given the gift of conversation. We've been given a gift of speaking, of making people feel heard, of making people feel seen and witnessed, and showing interest in what they're interested in. If people come to me and ask me, how do I make friends, whether it's teenagers or whether it's, or whether it's women at any stage of life, we can always get people to speak about themselves. That's a person's favorite topic of conversation, is what they're interested in and what they like to do and who they are and where they've been and their experiences. And it doesn't need to be an invitation to give somebody else a chance to monologue. That's not what we're talking about. But we're talking about showing genuine interest in another person, listening to them, talking about the topics of conversation that are interesting to them, even finding out if we really want to do some research, if we really want to be able to influence or draw a person close. Let's find out what their interests are ahead of time to be able to converse in a way that is also enjoyable and interesting for our interlocutor, the person that we're having a conversation with. And this is what the Torah, Rav Asher, tells us that we're being taught in Parshas Chaye, Sara. We're being taught that the beautiful speech of Eliezer, of the servants of the Avos, is worth engaging in and looking into and understanding, that even when they're talking to idol worshippers, but sometimes it's really important to engage in conversation, and it's not idle, and it's not a waste of time. On the contrary, drawing people close, sharing words of emunah and bitachon, sharing words of closest to Hashem and of aseta d'shmaya and hashgacha pratis, and stories, again, in a way that is related to the interests of the person that we're talking to. This is what we've been given the gift of conversation for. And Be'ez Hashem, through engaging in a kind of conversation that connects us to each other, we also, right? The more we speak words of emunah, the more we speak words of faith and avos Hashem, love of Hashem, and awe of Hashem, and an attachment to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and mitzvahs, and love of Hashem's people, and love of Hashem, and the love of Torah. The more that we speak these words, the more that we speak it, the more we're going to be impacted as well. So it's a win-win situation. When we talk these words, we ourselves are going to grow, and we share it with other people. So, Be'ez Hashem, let's enjoy the gift that we've been given, the gift of conversation, and let's appreciate and value what we're doing. This is just the last thought to share here for today, is that the Beis Aaron of Karlin said that why don't people grow as much as they could be expected to grow? He said because they don't value what they're doing. We talk anyway. We're going to be having conversations anyway. So let's value the gift that we've been given. Let's understand that the conversations that we have with friends, and we include some words of aseta d'shmaya, some words of hashgacha pratis that took place, and we a word that we heard, or a struggle that we had, and how we strengthened ourselves in emunah bitachon, or we strengthened our friend in emunah bitachon. When we do those kinds of things, let's value that we're doing a mitzvah. This is the kind of conversation that Kodesh Baruch Hu wants us to engage in. This is why He's given us the gift of being able to speak, and we can know that we're benefiting ourselves, and we're benefiting those that we are in conversation with. Any comments, questions, anything to share? I'd love to hear any feedback on your stories and your reflections, whatever you have to share. Yeah, go ahead, unmute yourself, please. Anyone, anything?
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, it's just some company left. My daughter was here.
Ah, nice. That's nice.
From Oregon. So she just.
Oh, wow.
They were going home, but I didn't want to miss. So like.
Oh, that's great.
I was just thinking
nice to see you.
before.
Yeah.
What you were saying about like 15 10, 15 minutes ago. You were saying about, talking to Hashem in your own words. So it's so interesting because I was just sitting with my daughter and there's just so many things going on. And I'm like trying to make a tefillah out of everything. And then I'm thinking to myself, like, is Hashem listening? Like, Hashem, please. Like, I'm just trying to turn everything into a tefillah that I was feeling. And I'm but it would be nice if it would be like an instantaneous like response. Like, you don't always get that. You have to just have emunah and bitachon, You don't get the response right away. So you're thinking.
But there you go. You did. When you said, is Hashem listening? And then you heard me saying it.
Yes.
So you did get an instantaneous response.
It's true. Yes, a hug. Yes. That's true. I did.
Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, that's very valid
so
for the thing. But what about for the things that I actually asked for? Like, I hope it.
Amen. Hashem. That will be answered to. Ezra Hashem. Right away, you'll get everything you need answered. Everything. Hashem in Ruchnius, Gashmius, and for you and for your family and for community and all Klal Yisrael. Be'ezah Hashem. All good.
Amen. Thank you. Amen.
Great to see you. Anybody else anything to add, share? Love to hear from everybody here. Okay. Thank you. I treasure you being here too. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful week and a beautiful Shabbos.
Shabbos.
With lots of beautiful conversations. Bye.
Yes, thank you. Shabbos.